Take a wild guess what's on my mind this morning.
I would say politics.
Yes. Yes. Politics is definitely on my mind this morning, but more so the interpersonal relationship.
I knew it! I was driving to work this morning.
In politics.
I was driving to work this morning. I was like, Lena's going to talk about this. And I'm like, I had something on my mind. And I've had it on my mind since yesterday. And I'm saying, mega see if Kalila talk about it. So go ahead.
Because there are just so many things that make it interesting. Of course, I'm talking about that stunning letter by the former PNP General Secretary Paul Burke about his own wife, Southwest St. Andrew MP and former PNP Vice President Dr. Angela Brown Burke, in which he accuses her of deceiving him, among other things. This 14-page epistle, highly and publicly critical of her. And just look at the title of the letter. That's the first thing that catches you. Leadership Issues and Decisions, Part 1. Exploring political ambitions, self-interest, political expediency, political survival, opportunism, and betrayals. And this letter is about his wife, using all those words. Very strongly worded. And he also promised Part 2 to come on Emancipation Day, which is on Thursday. So that's a highly anticipated follow-up. But listen, the whole, after reading it and discussing it on the program yesterday morning, listening to both his interview on Cliff Hughes Online with Mark Wignall, and then her interview on the cover story last evening, I've just been thinking about it all day into morning, about the relationship dynamics of power couples, especially political power couples, because we have our share of them here in Jamaica. You have the Holnesses, you have the Vazes, the Burkes. Internationally, we all know the Clintons, and so on.
And there are many other places.
And there are many others.
The Mugabes.
Well, one of our reporters in the newsroom said yesterday that he wasn't sure what to make of the situation, if he should admire their relationship or think it's weird. And you know what? I think it's both. I both admire it and think it's weird. Their ability to compartmentalize their personal relationship and keep it entirely separate from their political one. Remember the discussion we were having in the morning when I was saying Paul Burke must be in the doghouse this morning? And we said, maybe not. So. I don't know what their relationship dynamics are like. But I do think it's both admirable and weird at the same time, and weird in the sense of it's unusual. Yeah, because I don't know how many people can successfully and completely separate those roles. We recently met, Dennis, a young newlywed couple who ventured into business together. I think you had left when I was talking to them. I had asked them about how the business has affected their new marriage. And they admitted that it's...
I left just after that.
Yeah, they admitted that it's very difficult, that they've had arguments, and the venture that they've undertaken is no small one. So I can only imagine what that must be like. But then again, they've only been married a few months. The Burkes have 34 years under their belt. So perhaps it is that in those 34 years, they've managed to fine-tune the formula of keeping those things separate. And I think it could actually make an interesting case study in sociology. If you look at the way that Paul Burke described their relationship in writing and in speaking to Mark Wignall yesterday, he outlined several instances over the years where they've disagreed politically. And he positioned himself as this enlightened modern man who, his wife can have her own opinion. It's fine. They have their political differences. That's fine. He goes on to say, though, we now differ over who is the best person to lead the People's National Party. But it's not her choice, that her right, but the sheer deception by a leader whom I trusted totally, who told me and even wrote me that she was not declaring. That is the issue here. And I just found it stunning that even after that difference and those strong words, he could still tell Mark Wignall that they left home yesterday morning embracing. I was like, wow, okay.
But I'm sure, well, he said that there might have been some grammatical errors in it because this was, I suppose, one missive that he wouldn't have asked her to edit before
right,
sending.
Because the person who normally would edit it, it would not be appropriate in this instance, is what he said. And when I say wow about them still leaving home embracing yesterday morning, it's because I wonder how one can criticize one's romantic partner on something so vital as trust and yet limit that to politics.
Because it's not a romantic issue.
You're saying, I don't trust you as a politician, but I trust you as my wife. Because trust and honesty, because he used the word deception several times, trust and honesty are elements of character, one would think. Those are principles that one would think underlie everything a person does. You either have trust and honesty or you don't. You're either an honest person or you don't. Can you be an honest person in one aspect of your life and a dishonest person in another aspect of your life? Is that not a part of an essential part of your character? How can I trust you in one element of our relationship but not others? So I do find that weird and inconsistent.
When it comes to politics, you're probably ruthless or whatever. But in other things, I know what to expect. One might think.
I'm somewhat baffled. So here's another excerpt. He said, I am married to a good woman, my very best friend in life, and one with strong Christian principles and morals, and an excellent and loving mother to our children. Indeed, I owe her so much, but not to remain quiet of what I regard her political mistakes as when we got married in May 1985. Our socialist philosophy were part of our formal, written, and shared marriage vows. So the politics is part of their marriage.
Into their marriage, yes.
And he goes on to say, trust is a critical part of political leadership. What he doesn't say is it's a critical part of a relationship as well. He says, I was also taken aback by her decision. I had to compartmentalize the issues, one of my strengths, not to be devastated, as admittedly this has been one of the worst political blows regarding our internal politics I have had, whatever her reasons and rationale. It's not about her decision, but right up to the 11th hour on the day she misled me, in fact deceived me, saying that she was not declaring, but had only signed Comrade Bunting's nomination form, but would not be walking with him at his nomination day exercise. How disingenuous! Well, a day later, she's now his campaign director as well. Notwithstanding, I owe her so much in the development of her life and my position, which I told her in 1984, that I was only and totally and madly and badly in love with her, still remains unchanged, in fact, cemented from my end. And in trying to rationalize these different positions, I also started to wonder, is this just a show put on by the Burkes? So regardless of the outcome, whichever Peter wins, there's a Burke on either side, if you really think about it.
So the Burke brand wins.
So the Burke brand wins.
That's what I was waiting for you to get. That's
because
my view.
In the same letter, he also outlines reasons that she would support Peter Bunting. He wrote, Scenario 1, she supports Comrade Bunting and he loses. He would more than likely actively support her for any future internal contest election in Southwest St. Andrew and not her former opponent. Scenario 2, she supports Comrade Peter Phillips and he loses. Could she then expect Peter Bunting, as the new party president, to support her in any future runoff pertaining to her candidate in Southwest St. Andrew when her opponent has been his longtime political ally? So those are, and he makes other cases as well, kind of explaining perhaps her thinking going into it. And then she came on later in the day and gave her own reasons. One of them being that the delegates in her constituency largely support Peter Bunting, and she made her own case for why she did so. And so either way, the Burkes win. So we're here talking about them when otherwise we might not have been. So they say no publicity is bad publicity.
Yes.
Or all publicity is good, however that phrase goes. So we're here talking about them. The Burke name is one of the trending topics this morning.
Yep.
And so either way, this is a win for them.
I think they carefully decided what their joint
Strategy.
differing position would be as a part of their own political strategy. I think they're a shrewd political brand.
Very shrewd, very astute. That's what's on my mind.